Welcome back to InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm Mary Louise Van Natta.
And we're here to talk about something everybody loves, the Oregon State Fair.
I love the
Last
fair.
week of August, first week of September. Big deal. It's been going since 1861, but it takes an army to keep it going and making sure it runs well and expands and gives everybody what they want. Would you please welcome with us today someone who's going to be talking to us about the Oregon State Fair Foundation, a board member, Kelly Walther. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, it's very nice to be here. Thank you.
You love the fair, don't you? What's history?
A little history about the fairgrounds. It started in 1861 in Oregon City, but Clackamas flooded that year, so they decided to move it to Salem, which is the hub of agriculture in the Mid-Willamette Valley. So what happened was a gentleman named Mr. John Savage, he donated 8 acres, and a name you might recognize, John Minto, he donated $1,200 to fence the entire space, and that became the fair. The horse stadium was built in 1919, and at the time, it was the largest continuous span truss roof on the West Coast. And then someone was really on top of it. In the 80s, there was quite a bit of earthquake seismic retrofitting. And so we're ahead on that. A lot of that has already been done and doesn't have to be redone and will be taken into account.
Oh, good
so
job.
People have cared. In 2002, both Poultry Building and Horse Stadium were put on the National Historic Register. Which is ironic because that's the same year they tore down the grandstands, which had been in existence since 1929.
Oh my.
A lot of people were really sad about that structure. A lot of people talked about saving it. They talked about forming a foundation, but the timing, there just wasn't time. Well, fast forward, there's a foundation, they're on the historic registry, and we're going to save them. People may ask why it costs so much money. I mean, these are historical buildings, but they're buildings. The thing is, in a lot of historical buildings, you're renovating them as museum pieces, but these are functional buildings in use. The historic horse stadium, it's the oldest continuously used state-owned building in Oregon.
Oldest continually used
it's
state
still
building?
The state owns the building, it
Wow.
owns the land, the state owns the fairgrounds, and it's run by a council they appointed. But I just thought that was really interesting.
That's wonderful.
So much upkeep. Nobody ever stops to think about that.
Absolutely. I mean, we could raise money for a roof, but, you know, it's more interesting for me to come talk to you about the horse stadium and the rooster heads.
What else do you find out interesting? You love doing the research.
Absolutely, and if you don't mind, I made a couple of notes because these dates, I didn't want to get them wrong. But anyway, in 1866, the railroad was brought down from Portland to Salem for the fair. And I thought, how could that even be? I thought commerce would have driven that, but they needed transportation to the fair, and that was the first start of that. In 1877, people who came to the fair got to see Thomas Edison's phonograph and Alexander Graham Bell's telephone.
The actual ones? Wow.
Yes, they brought them and showed them before they were even widespread. In fact, fairs, the history of fairs is a place where farmers would come and share best practices, new farming methods, equipment, how to get higher yields and things like that, and gave a chance for the wives and the kids to show what they could grow and can and do all those types of things. But it's also a place, of innovation, so you see some of these new things. In fact, in 1910, they had an airplane on display. One of the first times people in Oregon were able to see an airplane. Which I just thought that was this, and I love this one because we know it's Oregon. I mean, 2001 is when they started placing and paving granite walkways for people in case it rained during fair.
Yes.
Something else I thought was really interesting is that in 1900 is when they brought electricity to the fairgrounds. Well, for the 40 years prior, it was mostly during the day. However, one year they had it as late as September 21st because it was a full moon and they were able to have evening fairs. I mean, how clever and fun is that?
That is so fun.
Let's see. In 1927, they started having the fair on Sundays because they kept off Sundays because of religious. However, they did not do races. You could go to the racetrack and hear a sermon on Sundays.
Oh, perfect.
I love that.
Perfect.
Jerry Frank's cake competition started in 1959.
Oh my, goes
Senator
way back.
Marco Hatfield started it in honor of Jerry.
Hey,
And,
I just attended his 96th birthday.
96th
I think that
birthday,
was-
still
Jerry
going
Frank?
strong, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he did say the secret to the long life is having cake or having chocolate every day, he said. So
Okay,
That's-
I'm with that.
then I'm going to
Chocolate
live a
every
long
day.
time. JFK made a campaign stop here. And just a couple other things. In the 70s, 1974-75, there was debate in the legislature of whether they even want to continue the fairgrounds. Do they want to sell it? Do they even want to put more money into it? You know, what's the future? And 200 people showed up at the Ways and Means and said, we love our fair, we want our fair. And the legislature ended up contributing $1.5 million to take care of some maintenance issues as they moved forward.
A big
Well,
sum
I
in
think
those
that's-
days.
I think that's a great time to maybe wrap up a little bit and say our community has shown up for the fair. And I think that especially this year, my experience was the fair really had incredible music, incredible animals. I mean, you can never see, you can see all kinds of animals and chickens at the fair that you've never seen before. And one of the major events that they do to support the foundation is an event called Pairings, which pairs wine and food together. And you get to try that, and you even get to do some dancing.
It's held the Friday before the fair kicks off. And fair staff used to run it with the help of volunteers, but they have fair to run. In fact, while we're there at Pairings, you can see them checking in the food vendors, and you
they're all
can
coming
see
around.
the midway, you know, setting up and things like that. And they need to go home, so we're able to keep it a little bit later. We dance till 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock this year.
Kelly, that's so neat to be able to talk to you about the history of the fair, many things I never knew about, and I love the fact that people in the community said, yes, we want this, and that there is an organization, the Oregon State Fair Foundation, that underpins it and makes sure that the buildings and everything are there for everyone for years to come. Could you please tell us how, if someone wants to get involved, where do they go for more information?
We have a website. It's OregonStateFairFoundation.org. It's all spelled out. You don't abbreviate Oregon, spell it all out. And the website tells you how you can be involved, the different events we have, the things we're raising money for. It has more information about the poultry building and the horse stadium and the Pioneer Schoolhouse and some of the other things that we've been involved with over the years.
Well, we'll just have to have you back for an update someday.
I would love to.
And
This
more
has been a
stories.
pleasure.
Yeah,
And more stories.
So.
I'll find some more. You know, you open the can and people are going to start telling me more things. I'll start taking notes.
Yes. Well, my parents had their honeymoon at the state fair.
They had their
They
honey. Your
did.
parents had their honey. You're hearing it first here.
60s. Yeah.
2 years ago at Pairings, I did an informal survey and found 5 or 6 different people who said their first kiss had been at the fair. So we need to preserve those first kisses
there
for
we
the future.
go. Too fun. Well, Kelly, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. I
Yes,
appreciate
and-
it. Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us today on InSight. I'm Wendy Brokaw.
And I'm Mary Louise Van Atta, and we'll see you next time.
First kiss at the State Fair.